Hello, everyone. Today I had the opportunity to speak with Jimmy McCray, who is a local resident here in Dothan, Alabama, who has noticed that over time, our local shopping mall has basically fallen into disuse. It still has some shops there, but really it's not frequented the way it used to be. And due to his view, due to the neglect of the current owners, it's become something of a nexus for crime and misbehaving, individuals. As a result, he's started a petition for the city of Dothan to do something about this, to step in where they can. It's not obvious, what can be done, but there are some solutions that he proposes, and that his petition is for the city of Dothan in its capacity for urban planning to strive to solve this problem. Anyway, with his associates, Brianna and Gianna, the four of us were able to have a conversation about what role do cities play in urban planning, encouraging positive gathering spaces as opposed to becoming negative places that are a nexus for crime, and what are the I contend that the church focuses on what is interior, but he wants to focus on what are the exterior conditions and what can be done in order to create the best conditions for a community to thrive. Anyway, join us for this journey. Thank you for coming to talk to me. Yeah. The goal when we started the podcast here has really been to just be a place to create good conversations. I think that any church in the community, if you're really trying to have a positive impact, you're trying to facilitate conversation between people. The old adage, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Yeah. And so that's just basically what we were trying to accomplish. So our many, last year, Mayor Saliba was our first guest.
Okay.
And that kind of helped launch it. And then after a while, I've gotten a chance to talk to other people around the community who like running various different ministries, the blood bank, or even Carrie, who started the Thirsty Pig. And people were like, a priest talks to a bar owner. Yes, of course I do. But we wanted to be in, all these conversations have really been interesting for how they kind of touch on one, the person who's doing something locally and why the people got out of care.
Gotcha.
Right. So that's my perspective. Gotcha. If nothing else, hopefully this is an opportunity for people to kind of just tease out the conversation whereby people who are of goodwill, people are in a Christian context, ought to think about what's going on in their world. You don't want to be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good.
Yes.
Right. So I was intrigued when we were both at the city commission meeting at the same time, and you brought up an issue that I had thought about many times, but had never articulated how you did. Because we lament the fact, the death of malls, and how it is that it seems, I came from one of the big cities I lived in was Houston, Texas. And you did see, Amazon kind of killed malls in some regard, but that's not the only reason for it.
Exactly.
Gathering spaces are sometimes some people have anxiety about do I really want to go downtown where everything's all together?
Exactly.
Well, it's several different malls in Houston, and they had one that was right downtown, the Galleria.
Right.
That's the high-end mall.
Right.
And then there's this mid-level mall that's up on the edge of, the urban area. And then way out in suburbia, they had a third one. You can kind of see the clientele and what they attracted and so forth. And I was always curious about that too, because it seems like these are gathering spaces for different cross-sections of society.
That's right.
And they're either, and it's possible for places to be a positive gathering space or a negative gathering space.
Right.
And if you're not, if you're not continually vigilant, it can go from one to the other.
Easy.
And
Easy.
And I lamented when I go to, say, the mall here in Dothan, that just, I'm like, obviously this has had its heyday. It previously had its heyday. But I don't want to see it go from some place that everybody loved to shop back. You see these AI video shorts sometimes. I've seen these floating around my feed where it says AI has now generated your mall experience from the late 80s, early 90s during Christmas time. And you're walking through some things where you actually would want to be there, and you're like, that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. What mall is that?
I don't know where that happened. But the local Dothan Mall here seems like because of either mismanagement or because, I don't know, there's a lot that I don't know. I'm amazingly ignorant about this. But it just doesn't, it seems like it's becoming something of a nexus for negative congregation. And you brought that up in the city commission meeting, and I really want to shut up and let you talk.
Well, that's fine with me because, as I said and been saying, you know, the mall here in Dothan, which is called Wiregrass Mall, was once considered the crown jewel of the city of Dothan.
Okay.
Well, not just the city of Dothan, but for the whole Wiregrass as a whole. Hence the name Wiregrass Mall. You know, so with that being said, you know, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've had maybe 3 to 4 shootings.
Right.
You know, and not to mention the robberies, the assaults, you know, that has occurred, and what they call B&Es, you know, breaking and entering of motor vehicles. You know, all of that has pretty much cast a sad shadow over what used to be a happy place or a place of gathering for the common person here in the city of Dothan, you know. And with that being said, you know, we took it upon ourselves to take the fight back to the city to say, hey, listen, we want something nice again in this spot, because this spot is prime real estate. You know, it's in a great location. It offers too much to just go to the wayside. And again, it can once again be the crown jewel of Dothan.
Right.
You know, we just need someone to care enough to say, hey, let's make this once again a nice, safe place for our young people can come and gather and be safe.
Right.
You know, well, let me back up a little bit, because I don't want to leave out our mature crowd as well, because they used to go to the mall as well and, you know, feel safe and walk around and exercise as well. But now, you know, they're afraid to go. So
one of my many jobs was working in worked in retail jobs. Everyone's had like 12 jobs at the course of their life.
Exactly.
But one of the jobs I had early on was I worked in an art gallery in a mall, and they always talked about, they say, well, you want it when you get here in the morning, you need to get here before the mall walkers.
Right.
Yeah.
What are the mall? Is that a science fiction film? What are the mall walkers?
That is real.
And it's like it's this whole group that just needs that as they need to walk their laps, right? You want that to be a safe space for them too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, so like I said, you know, it's just not only for young crowd, it's for our mature crowd as well. And, you know, just for mothers with kids, single moms that just want to just get out and let their hair hang down.
Right.
You know, so again, you know, it's not too many safe places here in Dothan for that to happen. And, you know, that space is one of the few, and I think it's worth reserving, you know. So again, you know, with my crew, you know, we plan to take the fight as far as we can take it, and as far as, you know, God allow us to take it. So
okay. So what? And let's kind of backtrack a little bit. How long y'all been residents here in Dothan? All your life?
I've been here. I'm originally from Chicago.
Okay.
I've been here 13 years.
Okay.
So I'm born and raised here. So I've seen it from the 80s to now. I'm grass rooted here, so I have a true vested interest because this is home for me.
And
I grew up here, and I watched
you.
them all. You know, I saw the glory days before the recession, before everything. And then I moved away for college, came back, and I was like, where'd them all go? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely hit close to home for me.
Have you seen, oh gosh, this is going to date me. When my kids were little, we saw the movie Cars,
Yeah.
Pixar.
Yeah.
And there's this tear-jerking moment where they talk about how, you know, Route 66 went through it, and the interstate went past them.
Yes.
And so now it basically left their, you know, what used to be their town became the ghost town.
Yeah.
That happened to my hometown way up in Northern California.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I mean, I'm Northern California.
Right.
We get very offended when people in San Francisco say that they're in Northern California. No, you ain't. You're the northern tip of Southern California.
See, you'd have been down south for a minute. I hear you talking about, no, you ain't.
Oh, exactly right. So, no, but that's what happened to Reading, where I grew up.
Right.
Is that, you know, the downtown mall, that was where Santa Claus was. That's where all the shopping was.
Yes.
And then Interstate 5 and a new mall was formed over on the side. And basically downtown became a ghost town area. And it became kind of an attractant for, places where you didn't want everything to happen.
Right.
And so I haven't been back in many years. There may have been some revitalization efforts, but the simple fact is that, I mean, when that management and all those stores, and it just wasn't the commercial hub, it seemed like it fell out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And in terms of the security that the business owner was willing to pay for, the attention it received from everybody else, how quickly things were cleaned up and trash was collected and so forth. It just was an unfortunate thing. And so I know that started me thinking about years ago. I'd heard this broken window theory.
Right.
If you're familiar with it, that sociological explanation for, that we can't, that I think I really saw it talked about out of Detroit when Detroit realized that the more derelict buildings are left unattended, it becomes kind of an attractant for more misbehavior. It's basically an ambient symbols of chaos. Because you can be surrounded by symbols of order, which possibly can incite you to kind of be more orderly. Versus if you're surrounded by vestiges of chaos, case in point, if you've traveled abroad, you know that garbage collection is one of the first indicators of the first world. It means like we just have this expectation that someone's going to come over and pick up our garbage. Right. And you go to some areas of the developing world, and that's no expectation at all. Everywhere. And so you yourself may be the most clean freak in the world. You may be very conscientious about always throwing away your gum wrappers and everything like this. But when you're there, do you have the same habit then? So, if you travel abroad, like I would never litter here because here I am in maybe a clean space because when you litter, it stands out. And boy, I really feel like a horrible person. I littered in a clean space. But if I'm, say, in Peru or Mexico or whatever, someplace in the developing world and trash is everywhere, am I going to go looking am I going to be walking 100 yards to find a garbage can?
No, because it's acceptable.
So you have these, and these conditions of chaos that, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to add on to what you were saying, because again, we don't want people to think that it's just us against the mall, because it's us against really the whole atmosphere of violence here in the city of Dothan. And to speak on the climate of what you're talking about, when you drive around the city of Dothan, you see that some parts of it is what you said, full of trash and just look deserted and like, oh my God, do people really live here? Right. And I've always been a strong proponent of, if you treat them and they live like, and I'm not calling anybody any kind of names, but if you treat them like rats, what do you expect them to act like? Because a desperate person would do desperate things, and it's about not giving nobody anything, because people always say, oh, you just want to give people. No, I don't want to give people nothing. Okay. I always believe in earning what you get. Okay. But I also believe in giving you a fair shot at being able to earn it. So it's about giving the opportunity. And showing folks the better part of life, because if all you see is negative, that becomes your norm. And what's normal to you may not be normal to the rest of society. So when you step into the other part of society with your norm, people kind of looking at you like, where did this person come from? Like, wow, who, what, but again, to that person, he looking at the other people and going, why y'all acting like that? Again, that ain't normal. So you got two words colliding, and it's all because of misunderstanding or somebody was left out.
I had a friend. I had a friend back in California. He was a good friend of mine. We grew up in different scenarios, different systems, but he used to say, Aaron, you are so white. What do you mean? He's like, I'm not talking about your tan. I'm talking about you just going to areas. Now, and every year thinking about the fact that you stand out like a sore thumb. And just like, so just tap that down a little bit if you could. Try to just be at least a little self-aware. Yes, I understand. I get you. But but you're right though, in that the sense of there is when we talk about misbehavior in our area, there is a sense in which that is response to conditions.
That's right.
Like I said, am I the same clean freak here?
That's right.
In the developing world that I am here.
Right.
But how much of that there? So there's an exterior condition side of that. How much there is an interior side of that too? I think that there's a place for the church because we're our target. People, sociologists, anthropologists, government officials, they're always trying to deal with the exterior factors. In the church, our target is always the interior.
Right.
We're laser focused on the heart.
Okay.
And our view is, and this is, I come from this perspective. You're familiar with the shopping cart theory.
Okay.
Right? Shopping cart theory is, it's the best indicator of people's self-governance.
Right.
Because you go across the shop, the parking lot of Publix, and the person who returns their shopping cart is the person who's more likely to be self-governing because there's no reward for returning your shopping cart and there's no penalty for not doing it. They're just doing it because they have this sense of wanting order in the world.
Right. That self-discipline.
And so they're self-ordered in a sense. So that's a heart issue. There's you're not being fined at Walmart or Publix because you didn't return your
Right.
Okay, Aldi won't give you your quarterback, but but at other stores, you're not penalized for not returning your card. You're not rewarded for getting it. So there's no exterior incentive. It's all internal drives. Apart from maybe not wanting it to bang your own car, but there's all internal drives to return your shopping cart. So shopping cart theory broken pain theory is the exterior factor. Shopping cart theory is it's internal. And so we got to kind of how do we come at it from both ends? I don't think it's government's job to try to reach hearts. I think that's the church's job.
So before I comment on that, because I've been told I talk too much and I kind of take over a lot, I'm going to let one of them address it first, and then I'm going to definitely have something to say on it.
Okay.
Sure. So before going into anything, I would say to go back to what you started off with about Amazon killing the convenience of malls.
Okay.
So to start there, that is just such a common misconception. It's just not true. With our generation, it has been statistically shown by sociologists that my generation, I'm in my 20s, so Gen Z and millennials, they're yearning for the malls.
Really?
They yearn for a third location outside of home, outside of work, outside of church, since a lot of that's been lost. There's not a third place for our generation to go anymore, to congregate anything. The camaraderie's lost. And so on top of that, plus online shopping, against all statistics of how much Amazon makes every year and everyone else online makes, it's just not what my generation's looking for, so that's already affecting people's everyday lives. The people want to go and spend Saturday with their kids or want to go spend Saturdays shopping around the mall and being able to put their hands on a tangible item, and so it's already starting a little piece of something starting in everybody, and it's being able to bring together how all of us feel. We all missed the mall, and now because we all unitedly missed the mall, is okay. It's a little start in somebody's heart, and now it's being able to get everyone's heart together on it. So like you said, going back to the church 100%, the church being able to get to a mass amount of people's hearts is mainly our goal with it as well, be able to hit the masses.
I'd really like to echo what you said there, because all of our research suggests that the third place, I think it was, sociologists have described the first place as home, second place is work, and the third place is your voluntary association. And so for us, we felt as though somewhere along the line, the church lost their role as the third place. And to be the hangout space. I don't want to speak to any specific denomination, but there is a contingent of people that got used to just showing up, going to the production and leaving. And for us, we try to reclaim the third place here where we can. We even call it the third service. It goes Sunday school, mass, porch. And so it's just out there where no one wants to leave right away. And so And that was one of my favorite papers I did in grad school, because I said, I made the case that under the Walmart model, under the Starbucks model, the church conquered the greatest empire the world has never known.
Mm-hmm.
And the Starbucks model is a specific size on every corner, all trying to be the third place, basically. Under the Walmart model, it's been, Christianity's been in decline in the West, because people just can't be the family of God after a certain size.
Yeah.
And so, but I hear what you're saying about the third place, because I do think that especially as our devices have made us more as really disconnected, the yearning for connectivity has grown even more.
Insanely. Because as social media rises, sure, that's connection, in quotations, connection. Right. But people are losing the actual serotonin of meeting somebody, the dopamine rush they get when they are shaking hands.
Well, that's the thing.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And being around people just in general, it allows you to feel something, even if it's irritated, people who are totally isolated and they're not people person, whatever, they still feel an emotion when around people, and we're losing that.
In our tradition, we would refer to that as sacramental human contact. That thing, that aspect of human contact that cannot be transmitted through the internet. Simply can't. And so I think that we're both kind of talking almost on the same thing this way. Sorry, we haven't got a chance to give you an opportunity.
Well, so I feel like, yes, we have gotten away from the coming together as a society and coming in. When it comes to the mall, it is a place where everybody knows, because as we're out here on this campaign trail, we're talking to people, and people are saying, man, I remember what it used to be. I love going to the mall. I mean, from all ages. They do miss it. They want that socialization, that place they can go to just hang out with their kids and their families and meet people, the young people meeting other people and congregating together and having fun and just relaxing, just chilling, on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday, so I feel like they say, oh, people don't shop in public places anymore. That's not true, because they are shopping in public places. We see, if you go to Atlanta, some of the major cities, the malls are flourishing. Right. The numbers have declined because people afraid of the violence that does occur sometimes, the shootings and stuff. But people do go out and shop. You go to any mall up there, people are shopping. They're going inside the malls, and not as a mass number that it used to be, but it's still a good number of people. And I believe here, if we were to get our mall back in shape and revitalize our mall, I know the people are going to be there. Women and men, I've heard the testimonies. I've heard the stories. I've heard, the appeal to say, hey, we do want our mall back. We want to go back there. I would love to go back if they were put the stores back in the mall and revitalize the mall. I will shop there. I loved it, what it used to be. So to say, people have gotten away from it or people don't want to, that is not true. It's just what I feel the mismanagement and ownership has done and allowed the mall to succumb to, because if they really invest into the mall, people will come. It will be a flourishing place to be once again.
I agree with you. And just from an entirely selfish perspective, I really like being able to go be again in that place where you can take the time. And for again, I have to speak from the perspective of a guy for a second. When you're trying to shop for your wife,
there you go.
You need to be able to just walk mindlessly laps around this facility until the idea hits you.
There you go.
Because you may not know what it is when you first get there.
Yes.
Right. I speak for more men than just myself on that.
Yes.
I have to agree to that.
Yes.
But for me though, I look at it as, it goes back to the saying, it takes a village, you know, and everybody's included in that village, you know.
Right.
And for me, if you leave one section out, it affects all, you know. So if one succeeds, it all succeeds, you know. So again, the camaraderie, you know, the gathering, the being safe, and just the fact of that dopamine feeling, as she said, you know, that's all real, you know. And I think that technology has really replaced a lot of human interaction, and when that happens, as me and her was talking earlier this morning, you know, you start to lose that person to person feeling that you have for somebody, because if we interact on a regular basis, I look more to you as a human, or more to as myself, okay, versus me using my phone to talk to you a lot.
Oh yeah.
If I'm using my phone, it's just, hey, this is just an object. But if I'm face to face, I see you as a human and a real person. So I have to now, you know, respect how you feel and where you coming from and all of that.
Right.
But on the phone or technology, it's just, okay, well, it's good when it works, and when it don't work, it ain't good. So if our connection is good on this technology, okay, we can match. But if it's not, then, you know, everything falls apart.
We all know the difference, big difference between correlation and causation. But I always do find correlations curious sometimes. And various different trends in violence and dehumanizing behavior toward one another seems to correlate with the rise of our devices. And just where you now, what genuine sacramental flesh to flesh human interaction is supplanted with screen time. And so there's a two-dimensional interaction with supposedly other humans,
right?
That on the one hand doesn't have all the same consequences of talking to someone face to face, seeing it in their eyes, what their reaction is.
Exactly.
As a result, that in some cases induces responses to them that you would not say to their face.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you spend any time online, you realize, oh, that's why the doctrine of hell is still alive and well, because you go, because somehow, in some interpretations, an interpretation of hell is being forced to sit there while all your tweets are read aloud in front of your mom.
Right. Right.
You have to suffer the embarrassment of that.
Right.
You're like, well, I didn't think it was, you were talking to an actual person. You did that. And your politeness dropped sharply. And theirs did too. And it dehumanized us, all of us.
That's right.
So again, I don't want to try to make causation assertions, but a lot of correlations are curious.
That's right.
And that's why in many cases, when you talk to people dealing with early childhood education, one of the first things I for a short time, I worked with a classical Christian school.
Okay.
And when students were being interviewed to be part of the school, the first thing we asked is how much screen time did they get? And for a long time, parents that were using their tablets as babysitters for their kids would argue over what are the best apps for them to use. Was it more educational, whatever? Wow. And no one ever stopped to think, going, that's like saying, is this, or you're playing with this alligator, your child's playing with an alligator. How well did you decorate it?
Right.
Like they're all alligators, right? There was all this, the danger actually was the fact that they were staring at a screen all that time. And it was rewiring their mind to, in a dehumanizing fashion. I don't know. Yeah. I'm a little biased that way because I'm old and grumpy.
Yeah.
But now for yourself, and so I don't know what that has to do, or what are the ramifications with what you're talking about with the city. Possibly, if your petition is for the city to take ownership of the mall.
Well, it's not to take ownership. That's not the only part. So it's three components in it, and the first one is we ask that the city force the mall to hire well-armed, trained security for the entire property of the mall. Okay. And the reason for that is because if you have security just on the inside, well, what about the outside?
Right. That's where the gathering space is.
Exactly. Things do happen. Right. And then if you have it on the west side, but on the east or north and west side, well, you just got a blind eye.
Right.
It defeats the purpose. So we request that they have it for the entire mall. Okay. The next part of it is that we ask that they hold the mall accountable for anybody that's injured while on a property due to any acts of violence because of the lack of security.
Okay.
You know, now let me just make this clear. We do know that nothing is absolute. Okay. Meaning sometimes things will happen. Okay. So we do know that if you have security that's well armed and well trained and highly capable of handling situations, that it is a great deterrent. Okay. It meaning less likely that somebody will come on there and say, hey, let's go shoot up the mall, or hey, this is a good place for us to fight or rob somebody, because they understand that the justice is swift and it's immediate. Okay. It's no delay.
Right.
You know, and again, I'm not picking on Dothan Police Department because I used to be a police officer. But I do know that they can't do nothing until they get a phone call.
Yeah, we also don't really want an omnipotent and omnipresent police force either, do we?
Well,
is that right? We want more people that are putting their own shopping carts away.
Exactly. So I say that to say, you know, those two things are what we're really asking for. And also, if the mall say, well, we're not going to do any of that, you know, we just going to let it keep doing what it does, which is rot, and hey, that's y'all problem. So then we ask the city to step up and do what they did to other private businesses that has been labeled a nuisance to the city, okay, which is pull a license. Therefore, they can't do business in the city of Dothan, and possibly at that point go through the courts, because eventually we know it has to go to the courts for the city to actually take ownership. So we ask that they take that and those steps, because once again, if the city does that, then the city can turn around and say, okay, now that we have this space once again in our custody or in our ownership, let's ask our citizens on what they want to see here, instead of us saying, hey, well, we're just going to put whatever we want here.
Right.
Because it's the citizens that has to patronize whatever they put there. Okay. So let them be included in what goes there. You know, therefore, as she said, you know, it could once again be a gathering space for the city of Dothan.
I know that. I'm sorry, you're going to say something.
Sorry. I'd like to put it on a huge macro level. You know, at a state level, Alabama, it's Alabama the Beautiful. We've heard that our entire lives. It's been our state slogan forever. And you drive past a million signs every day. Keep Alabama beautiful. You know, make Alabama beautiful again. And if we're not doing it on our city level, the church itself, every church does its own for the community, you know, raises money however they can, helps with different projects, everything they can. The city is doing a lot, adding the parks, you know, the new Porter Park, stuff like that, making the libraries a better place. Why are we not making the largest place in the city, you know, commercial real estate wise, a better place again for the community? Bringing in the jobs, bringing in the businesses, allowing, you know, high schoolers to have their first job at the mall again, you know, being able to work at the pretzel stand, you know, that's losing an art almost, you know, like you said, everyone has 12 jobs in their life, in their lifetime. We all need that retail job, really straightens us out. And so to put that on the biggest level, the transparency that we're not receiving from the company is making us have such a huge disconnect, you know. The disconnect between the city and what the people are asking for is hurting, you know. It's just a huge disconnect of transparency, and why we should know how much they're paying in taxes, you know. For example, if they're the biggest commercial estate in the city, where's that money going? Is it going to the roads? Is it going to the education for the school system, which we all need? We really need. So it's stuff like that where we need more transparency.
Yeah.
My before I did this, I was an archaeologist. And my research was focused on ancient urban planning. And so, because I would look at basically the urban layout of an ancient city and what they had dedicated to what. And what I'm finding is that, you know, America, in the United States, our culture, a lot of the assumptions we have is that property rights are absolute.
Right.
So man's home is a castle. If someone owns a property, you know, everybody needs to just stay. They can do with what they want. However, it is also consistent across centuries that urban planning gets to be decided based upon the social contract of everyone living in the same space. You know, being able to be within close proximity to a market, being within close proximity to ritual spaces, have the benefits of those, all the different types of wastewater runoff and gathering spaces that you have within urban planning. I did this I looked at a lot of urban places of ancient Mexico. And so cities part of the urban prerogative is you get to decide whether something is a positive nexus of activity or a negative nexus of activity. And so there's something of a dance there between those type of urban choices and the sacrality of property rights that we have in the West. I don't want to diminish that at all. People are like, you communist? What are you doing? No. I'm not diminishing the importance of property rights. However, part of our benefits of being within an urban setting and having the police, fire, roads, water, and all those other benefits that a city's supposed to provide is part of that urban planning prerogative of saying, is this the right type of nexus or locus of activity that we want overall. And so I'm not exactly sure what the solution is on that, but I do know that the people of Dothan do have a say. And for that very reason, they ought to be able to have a petition and be able to come to and say to the city, fix this, because you're part of my research was looking at sacred spaces. Particularly at ancient, cities of ancient Mexico. And sacred spaces are areas where people gather for ritual spaces. And if those spaces were no longer available to them, did that actually contribute to societal collapse in some ways? So that's part of what anthropologists and archaeologists are interested in, the social change. But I looked at it, once the urban planning was, say, this is our gathering space of sacred space, that they're basically creating a positive nexus for people to gather for cultural cohesion. If that's not available to them, there can be cultural disintegration because of it. But if you don't provide the positive gathering space, what are you doing? You're not actually facilitating that close-knit community, and you're going to have possible, cultural volatility and collapse. Well, if there can be a positive gathering space, sacred space in a sense, not to over spiritualize this, but if you can have sacred space, you can have the negative evil space, where it becomes, not some sort of Yoda, that place is strong with the dark side of the force. Not something like that. But it's just like you've created possible broken panes. You've created negative gathering spaces where you actually are encourring greater misbehavior because you facilitated that very well. And you're not vigilant about that. You have we see this throughout different cultures or different species, even the social sentinel. And you see India found this with elephants a lot, where it's like the main elephant. Stop hunting the big elephants because they were keeping all the younger elephants in check. And so the social sentinel is the one in front of whom everyone else won't misbehave as much. A lot of cases, that's the security guard. One of the many jobs I had in college was working being the security guard in uniform, standing in front of a store, with absolutely no authority to do anything at all. None. And I used to wonder, what am I doing here? I got a radio. That's all I got. Why do they even give me a uniform? Well, visually, someone sees you and you're a symbol of order,
of authority.
There's less misbehavior in front of you. That's the social sentinel. I think that the social sentinel happens at every aspect, every level of our society. Typically, it starts with the dad in the home.
I agree.
Dad is the first social sentinel the child interacts with.
I agree.
Because they're the first one, single moms will try to make up for some of that. Typically, that you see with a lot of shoes coming off the front. That way. But typically, it's the dad where the dad just kind of gives them a look and they're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to be able
Yeah.
to discipline my children without saying a word from the front of the church.
Yeah.
I could just give them like baseball signals.
Yeah.
And I was just like put them in the ear or whatever. And they're like, stop what they were doing.
Yeah.
Your dad's giving the signal.
Right.
But then this next social sentinel is going to be maybe a teacher at school or maybe, and hopefully they've heeded all those so that they never actually need law enforcement as a social sentinel. But even at that level,
Right.
you're driving around the circle and up alongside you comes Dothan PD. And suddenly what do? You check your speedometer.
Exactly. You know, so
But it's not necessarily, I don't want a ticket. It's, they reminded you of your behavior.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the mall space, in that type of negative gathering space, if we're denying them social sentinels, if we're creating them a space of chaos, these are all things that the urban planner should kind of look and go, that's something we can do. We can actually have a role there.
Well, we actually did it for downtown. You know,
That's true.
That's it.
I mean, you know, a lot of people like to pick at and poke holes at downtown, but somebody decided to say, hey, this is worth saving. This is worth drawing the people here and keeping them safe. So why we can't do the same thing for another crown jewel of the city of Dothan?
Yeah.
You know, when I first moved here, people warned me about walking around downtown. I don't experience any of that. I think they're describing a previous downtown.
Yes.
Proud. Yep.
You know, but not the downtown. I don't experience
Not the downtown that you know now.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
Right.
Now, maybe, I'm going to say maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Foster Fest.
Exactly.
You know, when that all went down, they were like, okay, no more downtown, you know, no more businesses, no more restaurants. And now we're seeing the revitalization of all of that.
Right.
We're seeing the new cool restaurants come in, the bookstores, the everything, you know, allowing people to go downtown. So if we have a huge space bigger than downtown, you know, that's 2 blocks put together. Why should, even if it's not for retail, you know, even if it's not for anything, we can at least repurpose it into something else good for the greater good of the people.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
So you've started a petition.
Yes.
Okay. And what's that process like?
So the process is it's online as well. So if we can't get to you, you can't get to us, you can definitely do it online. You know, you can go to my Facebook page or Brianna Facebook page. But we are about to centralize it, so it stands alone on its own. You know, if you see me or Brianna out walking in the neighborhood, you can say, hey, I want to sign it. No questions asked. You know. Huh?
It's on change.org.
Okay, it's on change.org as well. If you want to read it before you sign it, trust me, we have a copy. We'll give you a copy. We you know, so basically, we just need the citizens of Dothan and the Wiregrass, because we keep saying the citizens of Dothan, but
it's the Wiregrass, the whole area.
So when let me just say this: when we say
Alabama,
so when we say the city of Dothan, it's because Dothan is the biggest city in the Wiregrass, but it encompasses the whole entire Wiregrass. So it's just not limited to just Dothan.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear. You know, so if you see me in Enterprise, please sign it. If you see me in Ozark, sign it. You see me parts of Georgia, sign it.
Was there a specific catalyst that kind of launched you into this? I mean, that an event where you like, I'm going to do something now.
What launched me into this is the fact that I stand on order and discipline. And I hate to see something that is nice go to waste when we can save it. You know, so I hate to continue to see the acts of violence that occur at our mall when I know something can be done and should be done. You know, so a lot of people like to stay in the closet and just point fingers and say, oh, da, 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 da. Well, because this young lady that sits beside me on my left here, you know, she kind of kicked me in my butt and say, hey, your mouth is big. Your shoulders are broad. Get out there and do it. So with that being said, you know, these two young ladies got together with me and we decided to do this, you know, and hey, we're here, you know, and we're not going anywhere. We dug in and we're ready for the long fight. You know, we asked that the city join in with us and help us push this along. But if the city decide to continue to sit on the sideline, we are ready to do this as the citizens of Dothan. Because as I tell everybody, it's we the people that has the power. Okay. Even though we elected city officials to do a certain job, if they refuse to do the job, we the people have to do the job because we the people are the ones that are mostly affected.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the inertia of politics is such that nothing changes unless people demand it.
That's right. That's right.
That's it.
That's right. That's right.
So no, I appreciate you bring this up because that's a good example of the people taking charge of their area and not just sitting back and pointing fingers and just going, "Oh, gee, sure, wish someone would do something about this." Yeah, how about you? So exactly,
that's it. You know, and
that's where it came from.
Exactly. You know, because
like somebody need to do something. Do something.
Exactly.
Let's go.
It's a great line from the old movie, Aliens. If you're familiar with it, where Sigourney Weaver walks up to the sergeant and says, "I don't feel like a third wheel around here. Is there anything I could do?" He goes, "I don't know. Is there anything you could do?"
Yeah.
You mean, yes, you can get to work right away.
Yeah.
I do that to people all the time. They're like, "Is anyone doing this at the church?" I said, "I'm looking forward to your ideas." What?
That's right. Yeah. So if anyone wants to help, we welcome. Yeah. Just understand that it's not going to be a short fight. It's a long fight.
It's a long fight, yeah.
So if you're not ready for the long fight, just either sign a petition and say, "Hey, y'all got my support," and hey, whatever y'all do, great. Yeah. But these two ladies and myself, we are dug in for the long fight, and we do have other people that's jumping on. Yeah. They just haven't joined us today, but they will be here in the near future. So, again, we come to the city. We ask as a partner, as a friend, hey, do what's right.
Right.
Do what's right.
And fulfill your role. And
yes.
Again, we are not trying to encourage city to be overbearing and, eminent domain and taking people's property and all that.
Right.
No.
But there is a role.
That's right.
Of cities in urban planning.
That's right.
Yes.
For the way in which you arrange your spaces.
That's right.
To have the best outcome.
That's right.
There is a role for that. I mean, how much is that role? I mean, that's a point of debate.
That's right.
I do think archaeologically, I can argue that there is a role for them to play.
That's right.
So anyway.
We've seen them do it, they have done it. They have played the role and they have, when other venues, other establishment became a nuisance to the city of Dothan, then they pulled the license in. So we know it can happen. We know what the Dothan can do. Yeah. It's what they're not doing. Yeah. And that's what we're digging into. Why are you not doing something? Because we know you can do something. So, and if they're not doing anything, that's what we're prepared to do something. Yeah. We're not going to sit back because we ask questions as we are here, getting a petition signed, and we ask the people and, hey, if you had to vote, what would you want to see the mall become? And they light up. Because they want to feel included. Right. So they light up. I mean, young, old, everyone. They light up and like, man, I would love to see this, and this. And what if we turned it into this? And then you have someone that say, just shut it down. Just shut it down. But you don't care like, a lot of people do. But for those that care, they light up and they're ecstatic about seeing it become what it used to be before, when you can go and hang out. So, our project is really to revitalize, turn this thing around so we all can get back to what it used to be. And I mean, we really, really, really want to see it become something and the look on people's faces is so rewarding knowing somebody is standing up and saying something and doing something. Right. And they're excited about it. The people are excited about it because this, again, like he said, it's not about us. It's we, the people, and we want our mall back.
Right. Okay. Well,
you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, not to interrupt. The last thing I'd like to say, everyone who we ran into, which there's been very few that have not cared, could care less. They don't live here.
Yeah.
They don't have any interest in signing a petition, whatever the case may be. I always like to remind them of the poem, the First They Came poem.
Right.
And at the end of it, by the time they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me.
Right.
This is such a minuscule issue on the grand scale of things, because it's just Dothan in quotations, but it goes so much deeper. So if we can start something small. Yes, yeah. Catch something while it's starting and before it goes too far gone, that's the main thing I'd like to tell people,
So, no, I totally agree with you. I think that in talking about like I contend that there's there's two approaches to come at this. That it's not just all exterior factors. That while it does take a village, it also takes a village full of people whose hearts are being self-governed.
That's right.
Christ.
That's right. That's right.
That's it.
You can have a village full. You can have a village full of heathens, and who are all just out looking for themselves and couldn't care less about their neighbors.
Right.
Or you can have a village full of people who are being self-governed by God, who to look out for their neighbors.
That's right.
So it's not always obvious what kind of village you're going to get. You want it to be populated with people.
That's right.
Who are governed internally as well. And so I agree with you. I think that's just like we're looking at two sides of a same coin.
That's right.
I agree with you in terms of the city has a place.
That's right.
Urban planning. Do what they can, what's within their ability to do in order to ensure that you have not negative gathering spaces, but positive gathering spaces, especially when it's that much real estate for the city. We continue to kind of have our side of the coin. That is that, you could have a great looking mall and it's still populated by people who aren't self-governing. That's not going to work either. And so we still want to target, kind of change hearts as much as we can, one person at a time. So that's why I rode once with the Dothan Police Department, one shift so far. I need to do some more. But it was a pleasure, and I was kind of learning the community. I was everywhere I go to a town, I always ride with law enforcement. Just kind of lets me learn the community from their perspective.
That's right.
And so he was driving through areas, and he says, Dothan isn't a place that has just one bad or good side of part of town. It really varies from street to street sometimes. And so I said, well, okay, but those areas where it seems like you have the greater activity, or whether you're area where, where it seems like there's fewer social sentinels, fathers, there's seeming like there's more misbehavior. Point those out to me, please. I really want to go there. And because that's where I want to go make friends, and that's where I want to go sit out with my pipe and just kind of like start conversations if we can. Because the church has always got to be focused on hearts as well.
That's right.
So, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and talking. I wanted to hear this whole perspective because, again, hearing it in the city commission meeting, that's going to be an interesting conversation. I really wish you all the success. And, in terms of, city governments and city council, city commissioners, these are people who have limited, whose mental real estate is not unlimited.
That's right.
And so there are certain things they may be focused on this and not think about, they may focus on ABC, but not think about X, Y, Z. No one has pointed out to them saying, hey, this is something you can do. And then now that draws their attention. So thank you very much.
Hey, we thank you for allowing us to come and share the story because again, it's been far too many shootings at that mall, and again, it's not limited to just the mall. Okay. This is something that's citywide, but we starting at the mall because again, the mall is such a focal point, for the whole city. So again, on behalf of these young ladies, we want to say thank you for letting us come and share our story,
absolutely.
And hopefully we'll be back later to tell you the success of it.
I'd love to progress about this. Love to have a conversation again about how that went.
Definitely.
And I mean, and in a future conversation, let's talk about, if we could, why is it that we have kind of that type of violence in Dothan? Has it always been so? Were there changes over time? Again, I rode with law enforcement in Dallas, Houston, Orlando, and then here.
Right.
And somehow it took moving to Dothan, Alabama to finally see any action.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
because nothing ever happened when I
Yeah.
drove
Wow.
to Dallas PD or
Yeah.
Houston. Nothing ever happened. And all of a sudden I arrived at Dothan, and finally we finally had a guest. We had a gentleman that we needed to taxi to the Dothan jail, and I met all those personnel there. And, met
Right.
people at the Houston County
Yeah.
jail. As
Right.
well.
Right.
Made a lot of new friends. And but how is it? So it's like, is Dothan experiencing culture change?
Yes.
All this are very interesting culture
Yeah.
change.
Yes.
And so, is experiencing culture change? Was it always like this? Are the numbers steady? What's the difference between public perception and say? Because I think I saw something on the news about, is it Chief Benny?
Yeah.
Chief
Yeah.
Benny? His assertion was that statistically crime is considerably down.
22%.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, the perception of others is that's different. That's different public perception.
Yeah.
Is that social media thing, or is that just the statistic that he pulled at the
Mhm.
time?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to admit everything I don't know about this.
Right.
But I am curious because if we're going through some sort of change,
Yes.
and here we are right in the midst of that.
Yes.
What I want to know strategically, if we're able to have a good impact.
Yes.
We're
in the
trying.
midst of all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes. Again, it's going to take everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just us. It's the church, schools, city officials, citizens. It's all of us.
Right.
It takes a village.
Yep.
a village full of people self-governing.
That it is.
Yep.
I mean, it does. You can't have one section not pulling their part or pulling their weight. Everybody has to buy in and pull together to make this happen.
That's true.
So with that being said, we know that with God leading the way and we trust him in everything that we do, we know that this will be successful.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. This was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.